Hello and good evening. Good evening, Loftus. How is the feeling tonight? Yes? Perfect. I hope you're excited. If you're not excited, don't worry about that. I'll get you excited. All right? So I'm your host tonight. My name is Vilnius. You can call me Hov for short. I came to Lithuania in 2009 because I came to study politics at the wonderful ISM University because I was 16 and I was willing to save the world, right? So politics, right? Maybe not the best choice. But then, afterwards I stayed and now I work as a training team leader in Danske Bank. Now, but enough about me, right? Tonight we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about how you can move forward your career, what you can do to get employed or to move forward within your employment. And so, to open up the discussion, I would like to ask everyone a question, right? So, if you are currently a student or if you were a student, please raise your hand if you were studying in Lithuania and at the same time you had an internship in Lithuania or a proper full-time job in Lithuania. So raise your hand if you were a student in Lithuania and you had an internship or a job in Lithuania while you were studying. Yeah? Don't be afraid. Okay, so we can see not that many people, right? And so given this, it's not very surprising that 9 out of 10 international students leave Lithuania right after they finish their university. And that while Lithuania has an immense problem with a labor shortage, right? There's basically no people for almost any kind of job. And what would I call that? I would call that an opportunity that is missed. But tonight we will try to change that. And so how we will try to change that? Our event is going to consist of 3 parts. At first, we are going to have a short discussion about, a panel discussion about recruitment, about the various issues that we have with the bureaucracy and how can we overcome that. Later, we will have another panel discussion about the onboarding, about the company culture, about diversity, and how can you fit in within the company, and what can the company do for you. And then at the third part, we will, of course, take some action upon those discussions, because discussions don't mean much if there is no action taken. So we will have some job dating, right? So if you haven't registered yet for your job date, please make sure to do so. Also, a short note that Revel and then One Stop VAT are unfortunately not present today due to COVID. So if you registered with them, don't be afraid, register with another company. Okay. So tonight we will also have, so I would like to also remind of the small requirement regarding masks, right? So please keep them on unless you're eating or drinking. And additionally, we will have all your questions through Slido, slido.com. I do not know if you're able to see it here on the screen, right? So yeah, so you'll be able to ask all of your questions through Slido. I will have a look, and then at the end of every discussion, we will have a special time where we will be answering your questions. Okay, so shall we give it a go? Shall we start? Yes? Perfect. All right. So then I would like to invite Agnė Camara, the person who is responsible for setting up everything, for setting up this wonderful event. Yes, Agnė, please come on in.
Thank you so
Let's
much,
have a seat.
Hov, for the nice intro. Thanks.
Perfect.
I cannot take all the credit for myself, so I have a big team that is helping to arrange this event. So.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so welcome everyone. The vibe is great here. I'm so glad to be here today to see so many international, young, bright people. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to those of you who are from Ukraine, because we know what's happening there. We are with you guys and we support you so much. So, back to the event. When we first opened International House Vilnius, which was around 4 months ago, we knew right away that international students, you guys, are going to be one of the target audiences we want to work with. The whole world, as Hov mentioned, is fighting for talents, and Lithuania is no exception. We need talents, we need them right now. And here we have all these amazing, bright, young people who come to Lithuania to study and kickstart their career. What do we want to do? Obviously, we want them to fall in love with Vilnius and stay here forever. What happens? 9 out of 10 leave. Only 7% of international students stay in Lithuania. It's really upsetting. We started to wonder, why is this happening? What is the reason? Why do they all leave? Does this have to do with the Lithuanian language, which is really difficult? Or maybe it has to do with the wages? Or perhaps it's the gray and cold Lithuanian winters? I was actually thinking the same when I was looking out the window today, that it could be a bit warmer here. However, we found out that one of the main reasons has to do with finding a job, getting employed. And many people do not manage to get employed here. The reason for that also has to do that some of the companies are hesitant to hire foreigners. And the reasons for that are that maybe some companies are afraid that there is too much bureaucracy. There is an even widespread rumor that hiring a foreigner is a mission impossible. Also, some companies are worried a little bit about the cultural challenges that can be there. When you hire an employee who comes from a different background, who speaks another language, maybe even has another religion, there are certain challenges related to that. And lastly, some companies, they don't know where to look for all these international people. And they are just hoping that maybe foreigners will find them themselves. But what a paradox. International students also don't know where to look for those companies who are looking for foreign employees. We knew right away what we had to do. First of all, we had to explain the procedures of hiring a foreigner and show that this is not that difficult as it might seem from the first sight. All you need to do is to get some help. Especially when it comes to foreign students, it's really pretty easy. Secondly, we need to provide companies with techniques how to overcome those cultural challenges if they arise. And lastly, we knew that we have to make that perfect match happen. And what can be better than a dating event? Of course, in this time it's job dating, but it still counts, right? So we hope to make that perfect match tonight. This event is organized by the International House Vilnius, which, as I mentioned, has recently opened, and we are offering services to foreigners, such as migration consultations, taxation, social insurance, employment, everything for free, everything in English and Russian languages, and everything in our brand new office in the center of Vilnius. I invite all of you to come and at least say hi there. And also, I want to say a big thanks to our partners. First of all, to the Junior Professionals program Create for Lithuania, who are trying to attract talented Lithuanians back to Lithuania, and to our partners Work in Lithuania, who are supporting highly skilled employees who are settling down in Lithuania. So all of us, we will have our own areas here on the upper floor. Come by, say hi, and introduce yourselves, learn more about what we do. Okay, so I think the goal of tonight is to make useful connections, pitch yourselves to companies, and hopefully land a job in Vilnius. I encourage you to be active, to be brave, to have a good time, and to take advantage of this opportunity that is waiting for you here. Thanks, and see you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Agnė. Thank you for introducing the event. And I would like to invite our participants for the first panel, right? So I would like to call on stage a wonderful, young, and talented lawyer, Kamila. Please, would you come on stage? Yeah. Wherever it fits you. Thank you. Then I would like also to invite Renata, who is a very experienced HR professional. So please have a seat, Renata, from Western Union. Hopefully we can hear some very good insights from you, Renata, today. And then finally, I would like to invite Abigail, right? A very young, talented student who was able to launch her career while still being a student. So Abigail, welcome. Welcome. Okay, perfect. So let's kick it off. Let's kick off the discussion. Yeah? Is your mic working?
Hi. Oh,
Yeah, perfect. So Renata, the first question, first question would go to you, Kamila. So can you please tell us a little bit more about the current framework, the current legal framework? So how can students get employed? Is it possible for them to get employed? Bachelor, master, internships, so many questions. Can you maybe clarify that for us?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your question. So I will have with me some notes because, in a law, this is a lot of important issues, a lot of information, and so I could share all of this information with you today. I will have some notes. So as Agnė already told us, there are many myths surrounding around employment of foreigners, and sometimes it seems that the process of employment of foreigners actually is very complex. However, I agree with Agnė that it's not always like that, and it's really possible to employ a foreigner here in Lithuania. Of course, there are some bureaucratic twists and turns, but as I said, it's possible. And actually, if you know main rules of employment of foreigners, it's not so difficult. So maybe today I will share with you some main rules between foreigners, because as you know, there are foreigners from European Union countries, as well foreigners from third countries, and from such countries like South Korea, New Zealand, Japan, and so on. So first of all, when you employ a foreigner, you need, as an employer, you need to identify from which country you, as an employer, would like to employ a foreigner. So it should be noted that for European Union citizens, both the entry process and the process of obtaining a temporary residence permit is much easier because of a principle of free movement between the countries of European Union. So European Union citizens are not prohibited, for example, of working for full time or bringing their family members to Lithuania. Moreover, the temporary residence certificate for citizens from European Union countries can be issued for 5 years. However, the situation is a bit different with citizens from third countries. As I said, this includes, for example, working time limits, because third country citizens studying for a bachelor degree can only work part-time. It means 20 hours per month.
So to answer it correctly, that if you are a bachelor student,
yes,
you can work 20 hours
yes.
in a
There
week.
are some exceptions, thank you. There are some exceptions. Summer holiday, professional internship, only professional. I will say a bit more about internships later. And period during the first 3 months after graduation. So in these exceptions, you can work for full time, 40 hours per month.
So during your summer break, you
Yes.
can work full time.
Yes.
And also during this 3 months right after your graduation,
Yes.
you can work full time.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but this is only for bachelor degree students. Other part, master degree and doctorants can work 40 hours per month, so full time.
Full time.
Yeah,
I wish I had that when I was a master student. It wasn't like this at all. But right now you're saying if you're a master student, you can be employed full time.
Yeah, but it is quite new thing because last year was little changes were in law. 1 year ago, master students also can work. They was able to work for only 20 hours, and now it's changed. So only from last year, March 1st, they can work,
so it's a very new
hours.
change. That
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's important, and we, now we can speak about it. But and you need to know that because it's important. Yeah. Thank you, Hov. So about work limits, this is it. And what is more important, maybe about family members, I can say a few words. As I said. Citizens from third parties cannot bring their family members. It's important, and this is it is allowed only for European Union citizens and citizens from such countries, as I said, like New Zealand, South Korea, America, and so on. Yes, so this is it about
maybe you can also tell us about the internships. So are there any requirements regarding these professional internships?
So I will take my notes because there are important things about internships. There are a few types of internships. It's quite new for me as well. I'm a lawyer, not a student anymore. So internships can be voluntary, smart, introductory, professional, final, and Erasmus+. So I think the most important term for you is professional internship, because it's necessary for each student. Sometimes students ask me, can I have an internship, in Lithuania, professional internship? And I told them that you not only can, but you must have this professional internship because it's necessary when you are studying. I'm not sure whether about time limits, duration, and so on about professional internship, but each student should have it. And if you need information about internship in your higher education institution, university, you need to ask the managers of students, because it's not only about from law you need to ask questions, but from the university, because each program have their own rules.
And Kamila, by professional internship, you mean that's, for example, if you're a marketing student, you work as a marketing intern. Is that the correct trail of thought? So if you, for example, were studying something, then your internship is exactly about what you were studying. So that will be counted as a professional internship.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for...
Yeah, of course.
And a few words about internship called voluntary internship. There are possibilities here in Lithuania to do that voluntary internship, but there are some important rules. Why it is that? Because this voluntary internship is regulated by law. And that's why we have some rules on this. So the most important rule is that each foreigner is insured with social insurance while doing this internship. It's really important.
It's voluntary internship.
Yes. It's really important. It means that you don't need to pay social insurance taxes, because in Lithuania, if you not study, you're not working, you need to pay insurance taxes. And if you are, for example, here in Lithuania, and you are after your studies, you are already graduated, you can do voluntary internship, for example. But as I said, there are some rules. So I will say a few of them. So it's very important that the law provides that a person can only undertake a maximum of one voluntary internship at the same time. Only one.
So you can only have one internship at one place, not at a lot of places.
And moreover, at the one internship with only one employer. So only once with one employer.
Okay.
So it's also important. And duration of the same voluntary internship may not exceed 2 months per calendar year.
But that's about the voluntary internship.
Yes,
Okay.
because we spoke about professional internships. You can do them while you're studying, and how many internships you will have, it depends on study program. 1, 2 internships, and they will be, I think, from 1 month to 3, not longer. It's professional internship. And then additional possibility to make internship here in Lithuania, it's a voluntary internship. But there are rules, as I said.
Of course.
It's also important to know. And of course, there are, as I said, many another internships like Erasmus Plus and so on, but it's not the same because it's not inside the country.
Of course. So it seems to me that the companies and the students shouldn't be afraid of internships. Like they have the right to internship. So, and then the companies can take the students for the internships, and the students, regardless of where they're from, can apply to them and they can have that first practical experience from what you...
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I would say you don't need to be afraid of internship, nor employer, nor employee, students. And sometimes, as I know, universities help to find internships, professional internships for students, foreigners.
Of course.
Because everybody understands that it's difficult to find the good place for a student.
Yeah.
So there are programs that managers of study program helps
are helping.
for students, but it's not obligatory, so mandatory. So you cannot come and tell, please find me. So you can do your effort and try to find it, but if not, you can ask help from the manager of study program.
Of course, yeah. Thank you very much, Kamila. And Renata, now the question to you, right? So are you employing any foreigners, any international students right now in Western Union?
Yes, for now we are proud to share that there are 300 foreigners working at Western Union in
300 foreigners working at the moment in Western Union, 300?
Yes, and I would like to add that they are from 50 different countries.
Okay, wow, that's quite an impressive number. But I mean, aren't you afraid? I mean, there's so much bureaucracy that, as they say, there's so many things to do, and then yet you go ahead and you employ 300 foreigners from 50 different countries.
I would say that employers don't be too afraid, and they need to be brave. At Western Union, we are hiring employees and candidates because of their skills. It's not about that person is from Lithuania, so we are planning to hire only from our country. No, it's more about skills, more about fit. And it's more about, also I would like to echo Kamila, that everything is possible. And even if it looks impossible just takes longer. But of course it's possible.
And so you mentioned that, so if this is a good candidate, let's say, you would really kind of fight for that candidate and you'd really wish, do you have any stories to share?
Of course. We have a very strong story, I would say, from the beginning of pandemic. In 2020 spring, we had a candidate from Nigeria, and based on the situation, the world was locked down, and the person was not able to come to our country. And at some point, it looked that, well, it's impossible. So maybe the first case when it's impossible because he needs to grant visa, no embassy in Nigeria, and it looked so desperate, I would say, at some point. But what we did, we made many calls to migration, to international affairs, this Užsienio reikalų ministerija, and finally we got a contact in Turkey. We were in contact with the Lithuanian embassy in Turkey and asked for assistance, for advice, and that person successfully submitted application for visa in Turkey, and he came to Lithuania Well, after a half of a year, I need to be honest, but at the same time, we are really proud that it happened, and we as a company, we are able to be part of better lives for people, so they can come here and to realize in our company.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so because he was such a good candidate, and regardless of all the bureaucratic, some of the issues that you faced back in the day, you still went on, you fought for this guy, and then you made sure that this person is able to come to Lithuania.
Yes.
All right. And here, because a lot of people think that, I'm a foreigner, I don't know, like there'll be some papers to do, like the companies will never do that. But it seems like, at least in your case, it's not the case.
Yes, and of course we have very fast cases, for example, when we hire students who are studying master degree. So we hire them immediately as a full-time, and after they finish studies, we change temporary residence permit based on employment. And in this case, we don't have any gap.
So that's very quick.
Yes, it's quick, and we are really happy about these law changes that are now in place. And even there are bachelor degree students, we are also considering them during interviews. So you are welcome to check our open positions and apply to meet our talent acquisition team on the second floor.
And if we, for a moment, speak about the companies, right? So because you are an HR professional with so much experience, and then you have basically worked through all these processes, worked through this entire, basically from the beginning to the end. So what kind of advice would you give to the companies? Like what can they do to improve their procedures?
First of all, I would say be brave. Don't be afraid, because many failures are because of myth and not necessarily it's true. So be brave, don't be afraid to call even to migration department. They can consult, they can help. You can seek for legal advice from legal partners. So it's more about getting the answer instead of thinking that, well, it's not possible, so we will not consider the candidate.
Okay, wow. All right. Thank you very much. I have one more advice for the companies, right? I think that another thing that they can do is to hire a knowledgeable and talented lawyer, right? So yeah. So then, coming back to our knowledgeable expert. So how would you compare what was before to what happens now? Do you see a positive trend, negative trend? Is it becoming easier, harder to hire foreigners?
Of course, we see positive trends, not only we, but I think all of us. We can take the same bachelor and master's degree situation, and it changed, and I'm pretty sure that in the near future it will be no difference between who you will employ, like Lithuanian citizen or foreigner. So, there are there are various government institutions. There are international House Vilnius with Agnė, and there are government itself, and everyone doing a lot of things, not only in the legislation, but with the languages. They're help to learn Lithuanian language, the same International House Vilnius. There are a lot of ideas and how to help to stay here, and all of us we would like also to help for you to stay here, because we understand that there are a lot of businesses are growing here in Lithuania, startups and even small businesses are looking for foreigners here in Lithuania, and it's a future. So this fact that we are speaking here about this topic about how to help you to stay here, how to ask you to stay here in Lithuania. This is the future, and I think that it will improve in the future. Everything will improve.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks a lot, Kamila. Yeah, really, a lot of positive changes are coming, and one of them is the establishment of International House Vilnius. So, Agnė, can you tell us a little bit more? Let's say, if I'm a foreigner or if I'm a foreign company, I come into your office, what kind of support can I expect?
So we support both individuals and companies. For individuals, we provide public services, as I mentioned, migration consultations, taxation, social insurance, employment, and other kinds. Also, we have one institution that covers basically any question you might have. You can get a consultation with them. It's called I Choose Lithuania Project, and I want to advertise them because they're doing a really great job. In addition to that, we are also organizing various kinds of seminars and workshops for foreigners. It can be informational workshops, for example, how to exchange a driver's license, how to register my car here, how to pick an educational institution for my kid, and so on and so forth. It can be just general workshops. We call them Welcome to Vilnius, and they present the first steps in Vilnius, the first steps you need to do if you are relocating here. Also, we have a lot of integrational activities. And this event is, we are trying to start somewhere, and we hope to be able to organize more of these events in the near future. We also will focus a lot on creating a community, because what we notice is that foreigners who come here, sometimes they tend to stick to their own foreign community. It can be even the same community from their same background, you know. And we are thinking that there is a lot of benefit if you meet other kinds of people, if you widen your network, if you meet people from a totally different background, and even if you make Lithuanian friends, it's not such a bad idea, I think. I encourage everyone to make at least one Lithuanian friend and learn more about our culture, because Lithuanians, they just seem really cold at first, but you can break the ice and you can make some Lithuanian friends. And if we talk about companies, we really adapt to the needs of the companies. Sometimes companies come to us and they say, okay, we have 10 new people who just arrived. Can you arrange an excursion for them? Sure, we can do that.
You can even arrange an excursion.
Yes, we can arrange an excursion. Or sometimes they say, we have a lot of people, they are really lost and have no idea what to do. Can you make a special workshop just for them? Yes, we can do that. And we've done it many times, especially last year, when there were many companies who are relocating from Belarus to Vilnius. Mm-hmm. We were organizing specialized seminars for them, and we were inviting specialists so that specifically their employees can ask questions they want.
And Agnė, can you also tell us a little bit more about your most recent initiative regarding these language courses?
Yes, I'm very proud of that new initiative. We thought that learning Lithuanian language is a very good first step to integrate into the community, and we are starting Lithuanian language classes. We are cooperating with an organization called Speak, and we are starting in the end of February, beginning of March, and hopefully we will be able to do this continuously. So follow us on social media and learn more about it. And
if I go there, do I need to pay for that, or?
No, everything, all the services International House Vilnius provides is free of charge.
Absolutely free, no fee. Okay,
no fee.
Wow.
No hidden fees.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Agnė. And so we have discussed from the various parts, from the part of the legislation, from the part of the company. Let's hear from an international student herself, right? Abigail?
Yes,
hi.
Yes,
hello, hi. Can you please introduce yourself, Abigail?
Yeah, so my full name is a bit of a mouthful. I'm Nigerian by birth, so it's Oluwafimishayo Abigail Afolabi, but just call me Abigail.
I'll just call you Abigail.
For all of our sakes. And yeah, I'm currently working as a sales rep, a junior sales rep at a company called Whatagraph. And I still happen to be doing my bachelor's degree at SMK, University of Social Sciences.
Mm-hmm. So which year are you at the
Final.
SMK? Final year, right? Which is the third year.
Yeah.
So while being employed, while studying third year in SMK, in this college, you're also working at the Whatagraph.
Yes.
So how did it happen? How did you manage to do that?
Well,
tell us about your journey.
It certainly is a very long story. I began to look for jobs almost like in the middle of my first year, I believe. But mostly
Already
it was,
in the middle of your first year, started
yeah.
looking, okay.
So because, you know, there were several workshops that were organized by House Vilnius, so they told us like, oh, you can work part-time, so feel free to try. So I was like, yeah, that sounds okay, why not? And I began to pretty much apply on several different websites. There was Glassdoor, I used, I think, CV Online, CV.lt, stuff, different type of websites to look for a job, but I mostly found internships, and I was like, you know what, this is kind of a good idea considering I'm still a first-year student. So it wasn't until, of course, after my second year that I began to look for a job in earnest, and yeah, it was an uphill climb, I would say. It certainly was very difficult. I applied at least to 10 to 15 to 20 jobs every other day. If I
Every other day?
Yeah.
You've sent almost 20 applications every other day?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And most of the time, I wouldn't even get the rejection email, so I'd just get ghosted.
Ignored.
Yeah. And in other instances, of course, there were some companies that were nice enough to reach back out, tell me, oh, you're great, but this is a very competitive position, maybe try again in a year, or, you know, so on and so forth. But I remember distinctly how I became an employee at Whatagraph. I had already given up, I will not lie to you. I had managed to find a freelance position because I was on this website called Fiverr, where I was selling my copywriting services, because, I mean, that's what I can do, so let me try and make money somehow. And I had gotten about 2 or 3 rejections just that morning. And so I called my parents, and they were like, how's the job search? I let them know. And then my brother told me he'd gotten a job. And I don't know, that kind of fueled me.
So you said, how come?
Yeah.
He gets a job, so...
Yeah, so there was a little bit of jealousy there. I was
Okay.
happy for him, but then I immediately went back to the whole applying, and I noticed this job that asked for a video, which was rarely done. So my sister and I managed to set up a little scene, and we did the video and submitted, and a week later I got the call that I had passed the first stage.
Okay. So when you came to Vilnius, did you have any friends, relatives, anyone here?
No.
No. Okay. So I'm just wondering. Well, and then being a third-year student, you still kind of managed to find that job eventually of sales rep. All right. So then, what would be your advice to everyone in this audience? So what can you share with them?
So okay. Don't stop trying. It's for a lot of international students, especially those from third world countries, like you said, it is an uphill climb. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of, you know, documents, and you know, sometimes it feels like it's too much of a hurdle. So my first tip would just don't stop trying, because honestly, you never know if that next application is the application that, like, you know, catapults you into the career that you've always been looking for. Also, don't be afraid to take in opportunities, network. There's lots of events going on where people meet other people, and a good conversation may be just enough to get you a job. Or my first job as a I was teaching English during the summer. It was just because I'd gone somewhere and met some people, and they recommended me to some other people who said, I know someone else. So it's really a matter of who you know and a lot of luck. So don't be afraid to meet people. And finally, work on your LinkedIn profile and your CV. Don't underestimate how much employers really like to look at, you know, the experience you've had. Try and make it not just pretty but accurate, and use not just professional language and terminology, but try and be as honest as possible about, you know, the experience you've gotten. No experience is too unprofessional. Mm-hmm. Everything or all the skills you've learned could come in handy one day. So.
And how old were you when you got that job?
I was 20.
20. Okay. And did you have like a vast experience, a lot of things in sales that you can say, I had a sales experience?
No, I was a fetus in terms of knowledge.
No.
Honestly,
Okay.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just know that I had taken a couple, because We come across sales, of course, in school as part of the courses we were learning, but that was about it. And I was looking for entry-level positions because I didn't want to, pretend to have experience in something I didn't have experience in. So I saw that it was a junior-level sales rep position, and onboarding was there. So I was like,
Okay.
why not?
So let's say just to summarize, right? So you came alone with no friends, nobody. Then at 20 years old, being a third-year student, right, with no experience in sales. So only with your perseverance, only with knowing people, and only with just continuing to do and do and do and do,
Yep.
eventually you were able to get that.
Yeah. I came with my sister.
Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
alone.
All right. Well, I think that is a wonderful message to everyone, right? Never stop trying and never think that somebody is more than you. It's just not true, right? And companies and people like Renata will fight for you, and then people like Kamila will be also happy to help, and then people like Agnė are open for any questions that you have. So let's then finish this first discussion on this note. This was about the recruitment, and we will have the second discussion more about the onboarding and about the company cultures. Yes, so then thank you everyone, all of our wonderful participants. And let's see if we have any questions on the So a person asks, so why are interviews sometimes so difficult when we have a graduation form? Graduation form. So, yeah, okay, let's. Okay, we'll come back to that. So okay, how can I apply for a job if I have to study from 9 to 18 p.m.? What employees choose me instead of a person who can offer full-time? So basically, they're saying, how can I apply for a job if I have to study a lot? And then, what employees choose me instead of a person who can offer? So why would she be chosen? Why this person will be chosen if she can only work part-time, not full-time? So that is the question. So I guess the person is kind of doubting, is like, will I be chosen if I can only work part-time?
We had several cases, especially for after internship. We do have internship programs for students, usually twice a year. And after internship, interns are applying for open jobs. And especially after internship, when the manager and intern had some connections, internal already gained some knowledge, practice. And in that case, we have many success stories when the students were hired for half-time job. It means 20 hours per week. And yes, it might be quite challenging for the person to study and to work at the same time. I would support Abigail about the don't stop. Don't stop, try, and you never know which application will be the final one.
Yeah, thank you.
I also like to add, we are a law firm, and we have the same situation. Sometimes, we have students as well, and they come to do internship in our law company. And there are a lot of situations when we choose a person who can work only part-time because of him, because of his skills, of his motivation. And I think that, it's not a problem. And it's not only depends foreigner you are or not. It's, everything is possible, as I said before.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for the answer. And then we have one more question. So, and then I guess whoever takes this question. So basically, there are two questions basically about any tips for landing a job with having very little experience. And what issues can there be in the CV? So basically, how to improve your CV. And on top of that, what additional tips would you give for those who are looking for a job? Yeah, maybe you, Abigail?
Of course. So first of all, like I mentioned, your LinkedIn, most companies now are taking a more modern approach in terms of looking at resumes and CVs. So your LinkedIn can serve as a CV. So there's also a function on LinkedIn where you can just download your resume from what you've already listed as your experiences and so on and so forth. But I also recommend you just researching it. Like, go online. There are professional CVs out there on Google and several other search engines. Just look at the way the professionals do it, and then try and see if you can incorporate some of your own experiences in their own words and put it on your own resume. And when you come across a position that's asking you for a cover letter, don't just give the generalized cover letter. Tailor it to that specific position, tailor it to the skills that would work well in that specific position. And from what I've heard, HR specialists love to see that you took the time to actually, look at the job specs instead of just writing some general, I like this job, I need money, So, and apart from that, if you are feeling unsure of your CV, then check with a professor that you trust, check with someone who you feel knows what they're doing. Just, if you're unsure, there's a lot of people who are willing to offer you help, and you can just Google it as well.
So basically, just to summarize, kind of your LinkedIn serves as your face, as your virtual face.
Yes.
It's very important to take care of your LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely.
And when writing those cover letters, people shouldn't be afraid to share their kind of true feelings and
Yes.
why they're really passionate for the position, for that specific one.
Sound as human as possible, but with professional sprinkles on it.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then we have one more question for, I believe this one will go to Kamila and Renata, right? So people are asking, what are the regulations for paid internships? So not the free ones, but the paid ones. Do the same internships apply? Do the same regulations and laws apply if it's paid?
So if we will speak about a professional internship, it can be paid from legislation, but if it's voluntary internship, it can be only unpaid. There are no possibility to pay for it. So while you're studying, you will definitely choose professional internship, and you can maybe somehow deal with the employer to pay for it. But if it's voluntary internship, there are no possibility to have voluntary paid internship, only unpaid, because it is state in law.
Perfect.
But it's only one type of internship. We have
Yeah,
additional
of course.
types of internships.
Of course. And do students pay taxes on that income if they receive the income for the internship?
You don't need to think about taxes because it's on employer.
Okay.
So,
All right.
of course, employer should pay.
Should pay. Okay. Yeah, I know there are many more questions that you guys have. So don't shy. Don't shy away. Please ask our participants already after this panel. But yeah, let's thank our participants. Let's give them a round of applause for a productive discussion. Yeah, of course. Okay. All right, everyone. We'll be slowly starting our second discussion, right? And our second discussion will be about the company values, about the company culture, and about the onboarding of foreigners, right? So I'll kindly ask everyone to take their seats. Okay. So is everyone ready for the second part? Yeah? Yeah? Ready? Good. Perfect. Okay, so I guess then let's start. So I would like to invite the participants of our second panel on stage. So Rugilė, please come on board. Rugilė represents the Diversity Chapter Lithuania. Yeah, very nice to meet you. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, please have a seat. Yeah, let's have a round of applause. Nini, please come on stage. Nini is an international student. Yeah, thank you very much. Nini is an international student, and she's currently working in Lithuania. Thank you very much, Nini. Yeah, and then let's invite Rita. Yeah. Rita is currently working in Nasdaq in HR, so we'll be looking forward to hearing a lot of great insights. And Mariano, the country manager for Moody's. Perfect. Thank you, Mariano.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, yeah, of course. All right. So, Rugilė, my first question will be to you to open up this discussion about cultures, about onboarding, diversity. So, you seem like a natural start. You've been from the diversity chapter of Lithuania. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Can you please tell us a little bit about the diversity chapter? So what is that and what are you guys doing?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to see you all. And this is my first event of this scale after the pandemic. So I'm from Lithuanian Diversity Chapter. This is the organization that helps other organizations become more diverse, more open, and more inclusive. Diversity chapters operate in all European countries, and Lithuania is not an exception. When we were listening to the story of Western Union about the extra mile they went for the candidate from Nigeria, so I was really glad to hear that because Western Union is our member and they are really working to build a diverse work environment. And we as a charter help organizations achieve that. So Moody's is also part of our community and together those organizations really want to attract diverse talents, to attract and to maintain them.
Mm-hmm. And are you completing any studies? Have you done any kind of analysis of the situation currently in Lithuania?
Yes, in fact, we did, because Lithuania is becoming a multicultural society, maybe slowly, but still steadily. And we wanted to understand what's the experience that companies are having here when they hire international talents. So last year we got the results. Those results were the first of this kind, and it showed several very important things. So one was that 98% of all companies that hire international talents and foreigners in general, they're either very satisfied or satisfied with the job that those people did.
98%.
98%. And when asked whether you would hire again a foreign talent, keeping in mind all the extra efforts that you put, so they said yes. Also, the total majority of companies said yes, it's worth, and we would hire them again. But there are several things challenging still in the environment, because what companies said is, despite their very positive experience, usually they do not know where to find those international students or talents or foreigners in general. So what they do, they ask for recommendations from their current employees, they ask for advice from their fellow companies, but there is no database, there is no pool, and this is really complicated. So this is one of the main challenges that they experience, and this is one of the main challenges that we tried to solve.
So basically where to find those foreign talent, right? So where to hire people from. And you mentioned that you're trying to solve that. Do you have any solutions in your mind? Let's say, what is it that you can offer?
Yes, and in fact there was a question on Slido. There were so many questions and we didn't have time to answer them all. But one of the questions was, what's the best website to search for a job for an international student or foreigner, you name it. So it's very complicated with this one because even before coming here, I checked platforms and websites, you know, if something changed overnight, but it didn't. So there's not a perfect one. We know that Abigail found through LinkedIn, so this could be one of the solutions. But the problem is, if I'm an English speaker and I do not understand Lithuanian, and if I go, let's say, to CV Online and I pick English, still only one of 10 job announcements that I got today was in English. Everything was in Lithuanian language. And when I say that my language is English, still I get job announcements that require Lithuanian. So that's, I don't know, it's both annoying and it's time consuming and it's just not the way to do. So we created a specific application. In fact, we launched it only several days ago, and it's called Scobo. It's S-C-O-B-O. And if you register and you mark that your language is English, let's say, and you do not speak Lithuanian or you're not fluent in Lithuania, the system will not show you any job announcement where Lithuanian is required. So we finished programming the system only 2-3 days ago, and we already have people from almost 10 countries searching for jobs. Although there was no official presentation, we are still planning to do it. But the demand is huge because people are really searching for the pool. We'll start working with companies and invite them to register in March. So if you register now, most likely you'll get job advertisements in a couple of months. But we'll already see the trend that people are registering, those who are foreign talents and just foreign language speakers.
So it is available right now on the Play Market and the Apple Store?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. And then you mentioned something about the English and Lithuania. How important it is for employers in here that that you're not a Lithuanian speaker. Is that really an important thing?
I've been hearing a lot that Lithuanian language is so important when you are searching for a job. So we did this in a representative survey, asking companies who hire foreign talents how important fluent Lithuanian language is. So exactly 75% said that fluent Lithuanian is not required.
So 75% said it's not required that you speak fluent Lithuanian.
But sometimes they put in their job advertisements that still like Lithuanian is the language we speak, and this becomes the obstacle. So we invite companies to very precisely mark what languages are compulsory, because if you're not from public sector and if you're not dealing with public sector representatives, then very often Lithuanian language is not required, and this is what companies said.
Okay, wow, 75%. All right, very interesting. And now kind of turning then to you. So why do you think, Rita, so why is it that 75% of the companies are fine with their candidates, with their future employees not speaking Lithuanian, and then why is it that companies would want to hire foreigners?
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Fine. Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. Reacting to that, it's very, I think for us, English at NASDAQ is like our national language inside the company, so we don't see that issue basically. We have multinational teams, global projects, and we do communicate like on daily basis pure English every day. So I would encourage all the companies, of course, that's within international companies more that we face that it's not an issue. So it depends on the pool of companies that responded to the survey. But mostly, I think English in the international companies is the main language.
And is there any kind of added value, or like, so why is that important? Like, in your organization is a little bit committed, or not, is quite committed to diversity, right? Why? Why is it important for you to hire different people as your employees?
Yeah, so there was a good remark about Lithuania becoming a more diverse, country. And I think if we want to thrive, if we want to fuel innovation, if we want, to have different perspectives that we can all benefit from, we can have no other choice as just, to respect the different backgrounds and to invite them to join our teams. So to be able to do that, innovation and achieve the goals. We do serve as NASDAQ the clients globally. So that means that we have to reflect the clients that we serve. And if we serve them globally, so it means that we need to be diverse as well. So the diversity is the key word, and we base our, success on that, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just, let's say, that it makes you feel good, but actually diversity has an actual business value.
Yeah, exactly. I think without it, it's, it's just the water stands still, basically.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Mariano, from the perspective of Moody's? So what is the value of diversity?
Let me start by this. I am Mexican, right? So to answer a few of the questions, do I need Lithuanian? I'm going to embarrass myself now and tell you that I've been in this country for 18 years. And besides ordering a beer and saying thank you, that's pretty much as I can go in Lithuanian. So do I need Lithuanian to do my job? No. It's the third company that I am leading in Lithuania, the third international company. What I have seen in the trends now changing is that for the first time, think about this, Moody's has been in this market for less than 3 years. So we're pretty new as an international company with an office in Lithuania. When I came 18 years ago, I was the only foreigner in the first company that I opened up, right? So it was kind of challenging. Now 20% of my workforce in Lithuania, 20% are foreigners. Out of those 20%, probably 3% speak more or less Lithuanian. So is it an important part of your integration? I would say that it's more important to understand the country and the traditions rather than the language. The language will always help you. It's always polite to be able to address a question in the native language, but it's much more important to understand the culture and respect it. Now, to answer to your question around the value on the business to be diverse, well, very similar to what NASDAQ is doing. We have presence in 42 plus countries. We have over 150 locations globally. So we have diversity of age, of gender identity, of color, of race, you name it. You have to be representing globally what you're selling. Being able to incorporate into a new office that diverse of thinking and that diverse of background, it is just crucial. It's not a simple fact about being diverse because we have a value on the wall. It's because the customers that we are going to be servicing, the products that we're going to be developing are going to be impacting global markets. And as global markets, you need to be advocating, as I've been working with Rugilė for quite some time and with Karolis, human rights. As a company, you cannot, as a company, as a state, as a country, as a person, you shouldn't be able to select which human right you're going to be applying, right? Human rights are human rights. And if you're a human being, it should apply to you equally. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that in Lithuania, it is just getting started. But more and more companies, specifically on the service industry, on technology, on financial markets, financial services, it is taking a huge pivot ahead. If we don't make impact today on diversifying our workforce and being inclusive on gender pay gap, on LGBTQ plus rights. I am a huge advocate. I am a straight ally, but with Moody's and with my previous employer, we have been pushing very straightforward towards LGBTQ rights and the equality of that to be granted in Lithuania as well. So it is, as a business case, you're not going to be able to develop a product that can go globally if you don't have a diverse perspective. You're not going to be able to service your customers if you cannot speak the same language. And it's not only the language, but it's also the way you express yourself. And you're not going to be able to develop yourself as a professional if you don't work for an organization that will allow you to work as your full self-being without being scared about who you are, where you come from, what's the color of your skin, what language do you speak, what religion are you LGBT or are you straight? You know, those things matter for a company as a business case, as a human right, and as a key component to develop the future of services and products.
Yeah, thanks a lot. A very, very detailed answer. And I certainly agree when it comes to the clients and when it comes to, because you are a global company, so I guess the nature of your issues is also global. And when it comes to the workforce, how do you think diversity affects employer branding or employee retention? And Rita, maybe you can take this one.
Yeah, so I think the more diverse we are, the better retention we have, because again, of the same things that Mariano mentioned. And when it comes to, I think, the talents that we would like to attract to solve the challenges that we have in the company and, you know, the jobs that we provide, is, you know, to tap into that talent pool, we need you. We need every person here in the room sort of to come into that, you know, to come to employers, to be able, you know, to succeed and to have that mutual added value, not only like to grow professionally yourself, but again, to grow the company and to grow the markets where we are. So I think, you know, from that retention aspect, this is what, you know, I think the magic happens in that moment when we have that match.
Mm-hmm. And you've also mentioned innovation, but how come diversity can have any effect on innovation? Like, what's the deal here?
So I think the simplest set would be like, imagine that you have a problem and you come to the room to solve that problem and you meet 5 other persons like you. So if you put that problem on the table, so imagine what kind of responses you would receive to the question that you raise. So yeah, it would be the same questions again that you would have answers yourself to, right? So the more backgrounds there are around the table, the more, you know, opinions, the more diversity, so the more various aspects, you know, we have. So this is just an example of how the innovation can come in a very simple, you know, sometimes question.
Mm-hmm. Especially in this very fast-moving world where you need a lot of innovation.
If you want to keep the pace, so then bringing everything together, bringing these different backgrounds together, that's how this, this happens.
Mm-hmm. Of course, of course. And then if we establish that diversity is so important for innovation, for retention, for branding, for producing the right products, but then what do you do? So what do you do at Moody's? What do you do at NASDAQ? What is it that you do to promote this culture of diversity? Yeah, maybe you can share, Mariano.
Yeah, well, there is not a single answer to that. There are a number of activities and how you're building the culture to be integral, right? And recently I was talking to a colleague that I hired for the first time probably 15 years ago. And I was actually embarrassed when he told me, Mariano, am I going to have to ask you the same question as 15 years ago? And I told him, Mohammed, I know what you're going to ask me. Where are you going to pray? And still today, I don't have space in my office that is dedicated for a different religion. But we have already such a level of acceptance into a different religion that he can comfortably go and pray in my office whenever he needs to. But it's in the pipeline, in the expansion that we're currently doing. We are already contemplating, for example, a room where young mothers can breastfeed, a room where people can go and pray. It's not only about a siesta room or anything fancy that you can put as part of your branding. I think you need to take a priority towards diversity and inclusion. What do we do? First and foremost, we have a cultural integration through the onboarding process that is a global process. The policies are global. So, you know, the way we're looking into how we're going to be hiring people, you strip down the university, you strip down the gender, you strip down anything that can identify a colleague rather than the role to begin with. And then once you go through the process, the panel of people that are going to be interviewing will consist minimum of 3 people. So you have that diversity of opinion on whether the person fits the role, and not necessarily all 3 of them are going to be from the business, right? And then when you come to the office, you're going to have the training that everybody has to go through in terms of how do you report sexual harassment, how do you report issues that may impact your well-being as a person, but also we train you on how to respect the diversity that we have inside the organization. And then, you know, it's good to talk about the global policies, but it's also important to localize what is important in the specific market where you're operating. So if you ask me what is the focus in Lithuania, for example, as Moody's, human rights is something that I am going to continue working for. We are going to be, we are supporting the Lithuanian Gay League. We're going to be very present in Baltic Pride in June. We have a number of events throughout the year, minimum once a month, an educational event to make sure that all colleagues that are joining can understand what LGBTQ+ is, right? So you don't shock anybody that suddenly Mariano and Rugilė are going to stand up in the Moody's bus with the diversity charter flag, and what is that about, right? So education is a key component of the ongoing process of onboarding, and it shouldn't stop. Language courses, we celebrate also different nationalities, different Independence Days. We at least have a portal where people can see what is our culture about. And we celebrate our differences rather than celebrating different dates, which is quite important. And to the point that you were making before, you know, where do you find the foreigners? I think it's also important that how do you advertise the roles? You know, you spoke about roles being advertised not in English. So if you want to find a role in Moody's and you don't know how to go about it, just go to moodys.com. I think people are getting more used to, instead of finding portals, you select the brand. And, you know, I can bring you to the office anytime, and you will speak to many of the foreigners that they will tell you, why did you apply to Moody's, or why are you in Lithuania? And they all said, I was looking for a role in Moody's, and the role that I was looking for happened to be in Lithuania, so I applied and I moved. We have a number of cases like that. So the way the role description is being presented is incredibly important. If you want to have access to a global talent, you should be using a language that is relatively neutral. And in business, the language is English, right? So, and you should be using keywords that are not going to be alienating a different group. You know, you should be very specific about not putting keywords that are going to be manifesting it as a male role, or as a female-only role, or as a color-specific role. It has to be neutral. So the language screening is quite important. And then inside the organization, when you already have 20% of your workforce being international, the magic happens more naturally. Now, let me tell you something also quite important. When I moved to Lithuania 18 years ago, and I was the only one, I never felt threatened. I never felt looked at awkward. But I felt that there was a lot of people that were very curious. So, you know, diversity works in such a way. You also need to be open to give a little bit of yourself into the country that you're coming into. So you need to let them know who are you and what are you about, so they can satisfy that curiosity. And, you know, there is only a way to offend someone, is if you don't ask, how do you approach that? So it is important to be flexible in the way you approach things, but also important for you to tell your story, for you to be accepted in a, I mean, 18 years, let's put it in perspective. I have lived in Lithuania almost as long as I lived in Mexico. So,
well,
where am I from?
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy that Moody's is doing all this much to promote diversity, and you have 20% of your workforce as foreigners. That's 20%,
a great... yes, 20%.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great achievement. Yeah. Thanks a lot once again for sharing. And maybe you can share from your perspective, Rita.
Yeah,
so what is it that you do at NASDAQ to promote the same things?
Yeah, so I appreciate what Mariano shared, and I can only echo regarding the recruitment process and the equality that we strive to keep here. You know, it's the competences that we look at. And when it comes to the diversity and the inclusion, how we try to kind of foster that culture at NASDAQ, one of the key initiatives that I would like to highlight is the employee networks that we invite the employees to join. And these are the communities that unites people of certain regarding certain aspect, or if people feel like they have interest in that aspect. So, for example, we have Adelante network that unites people that are Spanish and have some interest in Latino culture. We have LGBTQ plus community that is called Globe, and Black employees community. So 11 networks, and for parents, for those who are passionate about green activities, so zero waste and things like that. So every employee can find his or her place in the organization, find allies, and have that direct impact into the community that they work. Also, the Committee of Initiatives maybe is one part of our culture that we invite employees again to join and feel that sense of belonging, sense of inclusion, and make an impact again through various events, through various initiatives, the celebrations of different cultures, and introducing that to our population here in Vilnius. And I would really, would like to add to this encouragement of revealing your story, and that companies are interested in hearing your story. So it takes two to tango, and I say that the hand that is raised goes very far. So don't give up, as it was mentioned earlier in the panel. Just raise your hand, and we are eager to listen. So the direct way to apply to the company, again, the same as for Moody's, it's just going directly into this website and providing your profile out there.
All right, thanks a lot. So very interesting notion about these employee networks, right? So basically, as you come to Moody's, you can immediately feel like you're belonging, and this is the place that, there are people like you, so you don't feel lonely anymore.
Yeah, NASDAQ, yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect, yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And then having a look at and being hearing this, what do you think, Nini? So you're a foreigner, and then you work here in Lithuania. So which out of these policies, and then maybe something on top of that, what can make you feel welcome?
Right, so first of all, I'll preface everything by pointing out your lovely pin and cheering in support of Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression before I move on to my answer. So I'm Nini. I'm from Georgia. I moved to Lithuania in 2016, so I've been here for over 6 years. I finished my bachelor's degree here. That's my background. Then I went to do master's abroad, and I came back. So I have about 2.5 years of experience here, and I switched jobs once, so this is my second company in Lithuania. This is my background. So, right, rather than being an organization representative here, I'm more like an ambassador for other Lithuanian students, as an ex-Lithuanian student myself. I think about this more pragmatically, right? When you're a student here and you're looking for a job, you probably don't know about this new platform. You probably don't know even that Moody's is here or that NASDAQ is here. You're not going to go to moodys.com or nasdaq.com unless you know people at your university and course mates who work at this place, or you've heard about these places from these people. You're going to Google international organizations in Vilnius, then you're going to go through a list which maybe exists, maybe doesn't, then you're going to Google apply for jobs online, Lithuania, English jobs. You're probably going to find CV online or something similar. There you're going to go there and you're going to face what has already been described, right? You kind of click at all the jobs that you want, you select English, and maybe you find some jobs that accept only English speakers, and maybe not. In my experience, what has worked is applying to jobs even if they say that they want someone who speaks fluent Lithuanian. It doesn't work 99% of the times, but this one time it did work. They were absolutely adamant that they didn't want someone who didn't speak Lithuanian, but by the end of it, honestly, the incentive of companies is to find someone who can fulfill or potentially overperform at their company to bring benefit to their company and implement everything to the highest quality. If you can show that your added value at that company is much higher than the drawbacks of you not speaking Lithuanian, that's really all they're looking for. That is to say, don't waste your time applying to places that you're not really that passionate about. You're like, maybe if they accept me. Do take the time to tailor your CV, something that has already been discussed earlier during this panel, during the previous panel. But if there's something that you really, really want to do, that one or those two places and two positions, maybe risk it. That's just my personal advice. Things that have worked for me is specifically seeking out companies that are Lithuanian. Maybe they're not international companies. It doesn't really matter, as long as their business model allows for clients who need outputs in English. So you could be a Lithuanian company comprising of 5 people who works for Latin American telecoms. Sure, those Latin American telecoms probably communicate with this 5-person Lithuanian company in English, and all of the outputs, whether it's software or marketing strategies or whatever it is in English. So essentially, it is a much long-winded process for us internationals, because when you go on the CV Online LT or whatever website it is, and you scroll through all these jobs, there are 100 results. You somehow try to filter them out with your own criteria. You have to go on each of their websites, look at their project, what they do, who their clients are, etc., and then try to determine whether it will be worth for you to spend the additional 1 or 2 days creating a cover letter, potentially recording a video, all of those steps. So what has worked for me is doing extensive, copious amounts of research that is just painful to think about. And the second thing that has already been mentioned also is referrals. So I got my first job in Lithuania after lots of rejections and just no answers at all, through a person who was a year above me at university. They recommended me to their own company. Not that they just thought of me in their head when there was an available vacancy, but they just posted on Facebook like, hey, at my company we're looking for people. If you're interested, message me. Very little information about anything, but I was desperate, because if you're an international student like me from a non-EU, EEA country, then you know that you need to get a job if you want to stay in Lithuania after you're done with uni. Because you either need a visa or a temporary residence permit, and you either can get an academic institution to sponsor you, or a workplace, or you get married, or, all of those different options. So knowing people is definitely great. Of course, don't approach this in a predatory networking way, but it's always nice to keep an open mind and talk about these topics with other people, whether they're Lithuanians or non-Lithuanians, so that everyone in your network is sort of aware of different job opportunities, different places, and you can function as this self-feeding community of people that can refer to each other to different places. So referrals definitely work. But that, of course, you have to have maybe several years of living here and knowing people to be referred. Of course, onboarding processes and company culture is very important, but it's more important to get to the company. I think that's the more severe part. And when you do get to the company, then of course, it's also really important to feel comfortable there. So if you ask me what things have worked at the places that I have been employed in, I've been lucky that both of the places where I have been an employee, at both of these companies, I was not the first international employee. So in the first one, actually, the person who was above me, so to speak, it was quite a non-hierarchical setting, but still, they were not Lithuanian, they were Dutch. So already lots of opportunities open up, because people around you don't automatically speak in Lithuanian. You're not necessarily excluded from conversations and jokes that just go over your head, so that's a big plus. The same in my present company. I'm not the first international employee, so employee manuals are already there in English. And this is something very simple, But if you're at a small company like I am right now, it is very easy for the employer to overlook or just deem it not necessary to create all of the internal processes and documents in English, because that takes a lot of time and dedication from the company side, especially the HR. But it is extremely important for you as a new employee, because if you get into a company and you see that, how to install this program that is the core of organization on your computer, and there are no instructions in English, and you have to Google Translate the whole thing, that feels like you're just not welcome. So those really small things for small companies, I'm sure Moody's and Nasdaq probably don't have problems with this, but this is more towards smaller Lithuanian companies, because, as I said, it's not necessarily those international organizations that you need to look to find a job that you will really like. You can focus on small Lithuanian ones as well. And the last remark, I am very aware that there are very specific industries in Lithuania that are more open to English speakers than other industries. And there are fewer of these. And these would be things like tech, software development, digital marketing. Those sorts of things are usually technical jobs, software development, coding, programming, are more open to international students because of the lack of language barriers. But there are still jobs out there somewhere that do accept people who are not fluent in Lithuanian. So keep looking, and best of luck. And if you find an organization that does accept non-Lithuanian speakers, share it with your friends. Be kind.
Okay, so you managed to convince them. So you were not speaking Lithuanian, it was one of the requirements, and you just went in and you convinced them that you still should hire me.
Funnily enough, they also said explicitly in bold capital letters at the end
Bold
of the
capital, and you still applied.
letters. Pardon?
And you still applied.
I still applied. They said in bold capital letters at the end of their job ad that they would not sponsor temporary residence permits.
And did
I was
they?
like, nah. And I just applied.
Did they sponsor your permit?
Well, I didn't quite accept their offer, so no.
Okay. So you rejected them at the end.
Now that's a huge power trip
all right.
there, isn't there? Yeah.
Very.
How
wow.
the tables have turned.
Okay. All right. Thank you. A very exciting story. And then you actually brought us to one of the questions that already appeared on the Slido, right? So one of the questions was about the following: was that if I'm a student and I do not yet have a lot of experience, so how can I stand out? What can I do for the companies to take a note of me and to hire me, or to at least call me for an interview? Yeah, whoever, yeah.
Yeah, so how to stand out is first of all to show up, to apply and show interest in the positions that are interesting for you, that you feel as a match. The internship, that was talked about earlier is one of the ways how to get into the company, starting from the positions that, trying out, that you would like to check in with the company culture, with certain profile that you are interested in. So we have global internship, for example, and we are interested in keeping people if they feel like it's a match and we feel like it's a match, so we afterwards offer, the roles. So that's one of the ways participating in this internship program. The other way is applying, raising a hand, and expressing the interest and standing out with your competences, with your whatever projects or anything from the skills perspective that you have did. So this is something that we would be looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. And what do you think, Mariano?
Yeah, but, I agree with that. I think it can be intimidating to apply to a role when you read the role profile, and all companies like to write the role profiles in a way that sounds super attractive, right? So we make it super complex. We make it, wow, from there to the CEO, there must be just one step. And that ends up, instead of attracting people, it's a deterrent, right? Especially if you don't have experience. So my first recommendation is, if there is an internship program in that company, apply to that. If there is no internship in the area that you would like to apply for a job, then contact HR always and ask questions. Say, I don't have any experience, I am coming from my bachelor degree, and I would like to apply for this role. And equally important, inform yourself about what are the programs that companies has locally. So to give you an example, Moody's will pay for your master degree, provided that on the first 6 months of your job you don't screw up too bad and you're performing well. You can apply for an educational assistance and we will pay for your master degree. You know, we give up to $15,000 a year per employee. It doesn't matter the background.
$50,000 per year.
15.
Per employee.
Penkiolika tūkstančių. Yeah, per employee.
Good, see?
There you go. And we are also investing about 200,000 euros a year in Lithuania in a program for upskilling and reskilling. That can include a language, so we give language courses, and we give digital skills. My objective personally as a country head is that the workforce that I have right now doesn't necessarily need to have the skill set that I will need tomorrow, but I start investing in that continuous education. So you may start as payroll specialist, entry-level talent. You know, you just need to know the notion of payroll. We will train you. And on top of that, you can take Python, so you can crunch numbers rather than using Excel, and Python Advanced and machine learning, and then you, in a blink of an eye, you're already applying for an IT job. So lesson number 1, try to apply for the internship. Lesson number 2, don't get intimidated by the role profile. You know, if it says 0 to 2 years experience, so go for it and ask questions about it. And then number 3, ask what are the programs inside the organization to support you building up your skills so you can build up your career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would like as well to add from that perspective, like if you find a job advertisement, and usually so we write job advertisements as it's a perfect match, and we know that perfect match sometimes doesn't exist in the market. So if you feel like you satisfy the main criteria, usually they are listed on the top of
on
the
the first ones,
yes,
right?
Yes. So just keep in mind that sometimes if we feel really passionate, a candidate who is, having this potential, we can even, take a specialist role and, have it as a junior role, because we see that this person potentially can grow into this role very fast with the help of ours and with this, motivation that we see that the candidate has. So this is as well the opportunity.
So if somebody really has passion, really has motivation, and he or she might lack the experience, you still might give it a shot and say, look, so you don't have the you don't have the experience right now, but I feel like you want to learn, so I'll give you the chance.
Yeah, sometimes it does happen so we have examples like that, and yeah, they are successful, so we kind of have that as a practice.
Okay, yeah, a very interesting discussion, because another question that we had here was a person who was asking something like this. She said, I'm a translator right now, and are there any possibilities for translators? But the way that I would like to maybe rephrase that question would be probably the following, right? So if a person has a specific profession, right, and that he or she might be looking within that specific field and trying to find, so I want to be a translator, what can be your advice? So can that experience be used somewhere else? Can those skills maybe within that specific profession be used for a wider kind of sense, right? Maybe if you're an engineer, you can work in insurance, or you can work in finance, right? So what could be your kind of advice to this person who is currently as a translator, but then can he or she find something else, something that fits her, and then what can you advise them?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And interestingly enough, when you look at any kind of company that sells products outside the home country, whether it's a Lithuanian company selling services abroad or a Moody's that sells all its data abroad, we necessarily need to have somewhere in the pipeline people who translate the documents. So one way is to find the way to contact a contact inside Moody's in this case and ask the question. Second, a language is always a plus. So if the skill set is on the language, let's find out where in the system we are currently needing the language that you can translate to and from, and whether or not you're interested in learning an additional skill so we can complement that language that you master. But when it comes to the broader question of I would like to work for Moody's, but I am a data scientist and there is not a single role open in data science. But you know that Moody's has ESG as a service, so, and as a business. So call. I mean, you always need to find who to call in the organization to ask the question, you know, because it might be that there is a pipeline, it might be that we just didn't think about that skill set in particular, but if there is the opinion, if there is the option as the skill set, you may well break through and open it up.
So you would encourage to call. So for example, if in a job ad there would be a number, call that number.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get messages on LinkedIn all the time, and I always channel those messages. Either I respond, 99.9% of the times I will respond personally. And I
you
will
yourself,
have,
being the country manager,
me,
you would
yes.
respond to all the messages.
If somebody contacts me in LinkedIn, I think it is appropriate for me to respond. I have a cup of coffee later today with some of you, one of you that has contacted me in LinkedIn a couple of months ago. So yes, I mean, contacting and let us know that you're here and that you're interested in something is in a position is the best way forward. And let us know what is your skill set. I heard in the previous panel, updating your LinkedIn profile, it is important, but it's more important to understand what is it that a recruiter for the company that you're targeting is looking for. And the best way is pick up the phone and call us.
Okay.
Yeah. And from the general competences perspective, maybe, it's, I think some, for example, at NASDAQ, some roles do require more of this general competences. So again, the same as what Mariano said, that we actually would be interested in learning what interests you. So, you know, we can see where it could be, you know, potential good position for you, despite, like, if we don't have translator as a role, we may have some other roles that the general competences may apply, and we can establish some special knowledge and experience in the role that, yeah, that would be needed.
Of course, of course. All right, all right, all right, all right. Thank you so much for a very productive discussion. Yes, and just keep in mind, right, that the world moves so fast that there is no person in the world that can just come in the company and know. The first, how much? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, 3 months, you spend learning about the job that you just got employed for. That's how it works almost for anyone. So always remember that, right? So this adaptability is one of the key skills that you can have. And so very good advices we heard from our panel participants. Thank you very much. Let's give a big round of applause. Perfect. And right before we go into the job dates, so one final question. So, Mariano, you are a country manager currently at Moody's, right? If you were an international student, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Move to Lithuania 20 years earlier.
Move to Lithuania, okay. What about you?
It's, I think I would just say lean in and go out there and participate, be proactive. So something like, you know, show up.
Show up and be proactive.
Yeah.
All right. I guess then this is it. I guess then we should show up and be proactive. So now this is the part where you are going to talk to various companies. So show up, be proactive, right? Remember, fortune favors the brave, right? So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to go on an interview because you never know. What if this will be, this could be, and because in job dating, just like in any other dating, right? You never know. It could be a one interview stand or it can be a long-lasting employment, right? So be brave, be out there, and have a very good luck. And before that, let me invite our lovely people from the International House Vilnius. And yeah, thank you very much for the panel. Thanks a lot. So, Vilius and Ruta. Yes, please come on stage. I will give you the stage. Well, please, the stage is yours.
Never use a microphone, actually. Hi, everyone. So I'm Ruta. Grab one as well.
Yeah, I'm Vilius.
Yeah, and you've probably seen us running around here. So we're behind the team that's organizing this event for you tonight. And together with the International House Vilnius, who are actually arranging all of this event. And we are doing a project that's helping you, foreign students, international students, who are living and studying here in Vilnius, to integrate easier into Vilnius job market. So this event is a part of our solution, but we have other two more practical ones that you should be able to see on the screen. You're more lucky than I am. I cannot see the screen, but you can. So the second solution that we proposed and created are the step-by-step guides that you will find on International House Vilnius website, both for companies and students. I will introduce them to you in a bit. And our third solution is First Foreigner Employment Kit. So if I can move to another slide. Yeah. So if you go to International House Vilnius website, you can find, you can see the arrow where you can find the point where you need to go and find the guides. When you click on it, if we can go to the next slide, you will find one tip guide dedicated for students that will be in English, and the other one is for companies in 2 languages, so it's available in Lithuanian and in English. Otherwise, we can move to the next slide. You will see posters like this one around you, so you can start looking, and you can even see them here. So just grab your phone, scan it with your phone, you'll be directed straight away to those guides. Save them on your phone, share with your colleagues, with your friends, to whom it might be relevant. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and the third solution is First Foreigner Employment Kit, which we directly, it's for companies, companies which want to employ the first foreigner. So what's there going to be? There are going to be 3 things in this employment kit. It's totally for free. And the first thing, there are going to be guides that Ruta mentioned. We'll include that. The second thing, there are going to be 6 hours of workshops, of talking with experts who have experience in diversity and inclusion. And there will be these workshops. And the third thing, they're going to be like, we hear like many companies say like, oh, we don't know how to deal with this bureaucratic process, how to make it faster. So what we include, they're going to be free, 2 hours of free consultations with lawyers. So that's also going to be there. So if you want to know, please get to another slide. So if you want to know more about this employment kit, if there are companies which want to know more about this, please come to me or Ruta. If you also want to know more about guides, where you can find, or if you have any questions, how to use them. And if you also want to know more about job dating part, if you still haven't registered and you want to participate, you can also come to us. So we'll be there. One of us definitely will be there on the 2nd floor next to the entrance to the job dating part. And we'll see if there are some empty spots, and we'll try to, give you a space to participate there. So we want to thank every speaker who came here and who explained and told about their experience. We also want to say that probably you got this name tag, and you can, if you turn it on the other side, there are like some things which it's like a challenge. So if you do all of these six things, you will get a prize from International House Vilnius. So please do them during the networking part. Come to International House Vilnius after, and you will get a prize. So thank you so much for being here, and that's it. So we're waiting you upstairs, everybody. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.